And when the truth began to threaten authority, the world turned against him. Galileo Galilei stands among the most extraordinary figures in human history. A physicist, mathematician, and astronomer, his methods, discoveries, and writings reshaped science forever. Born on February 15, 1564, in Pisa, Italy, he would become one of the most influential minds the world has ever known. He was the son of Vincenzo Galilei, a respected musician, and Giulia Galilei. The family had 7 children, though only 4 lived into adulthood. They were not wealthy, but they were determined to give Galileo a strong education from an early age. Signs of brilliance appeared early. Galileo was imaginative, inventive, and unusually curious. Growing up in a musical household, he explored art and painting and showed real talent. But his father, aware of the uncertainty of an artistic life, urged him toward a more stable profession. In 1581, Galileo enrolled at the University of Pisa to study medicine. There he encountered the works of Archimedes and Euclid, ideas that quickly shaped his thinking. Even as a student, Galileo challenged accepted beliefs, questioning ideas others took for granted. This rebellious streak irritated his professors. One even warned Galileo's father about his son's bold and confrontational attitude. While officially studying medicine, Galileo privately studied mathematics under Ostilio Ricci. Medicine lost its appeal, and after 4 years, he abandoned it entirely to pursue mathematics, despite his father's objections. To support himself, Galileo began teaching privately in Florence. His reputation grew quickly. In 1587, during a visit to Rome, he impressed scholars with his mathematical skill and scientific insight. 2 years later, he secured a teaching position at the University of Pisa. As a professor, Galileo gained attention for openly rejecting traditional ideas. His views on nature and science left audiences astonished. He even mocked academic customs, including the ceremonial robes of university scholars. During this period, Galileo is said to have performed a bold experiment on gravity. Dropping 2 objects from the Leaning Tower of Pisa, he showed that all bodies fall at the same rate. In 1592, he moved to the University of Padua. There, his ideas were welcomed, and his reputation flourished. He changed the way humanity sees the universe, and paid a heavy price. Galileo didn't just challenge science. He challenged power, faith, and centuries of belief. Galileo formed a long-term relationship with a Venetian woman, Marina Gamba. They had 3 children, Virginia, Livia, and Vincenzo, though they never married. In 1609, Galileo learned of a remarkable invention from the Netherlands, the telescope. Though he had never seen one, he immediately recognized its potential and built his own. His refined telescope stunned the scientific world. Galileo used it relentlessly to observe the heavens. These discoveries were published in The Starry Messenger. Written in Latin, the book spread rapidly and changed everything. He described stars never seen before, and after careful observation, identified the moons orbiting Jupiter. One of his most shocking discoveries was this. The moon was not smooth and perfect, but rough and uneven, defying beliefs held for centuries. These observations led Galileo to develop a view of the universe unlike that of his contemporaries. Beyond refining the telescope, he also improved the military compass, and in 1597 invented the geometric compass, which provided him with a modest income. Relentless in his pursuit of knowledge, Galileo spent countless hours in his workshop conducting experiments and recording his conclusions. His approach broke sharply from Aristotelian philosophy and theological tradition. He openly challenged Aristotle's ideas in works such as Discourse on Bodies in Water and Letters on Sunspots. At the same time, Galileo supported the theories of Nicholas Copernicus, the Polish astronomer who proposed that the Sun, not the Earth, lay at the center of the solar system. This heliocentric model directly opposed the church-backed geocentric view, and Copernicus himself had been labeled a heretic. Drawing on this theory, Galileo developed his explanation of tides, arguing that they were evidence of the Earth's motion. Driven by a desire to understand motion, Galileo conducted experiments with balls rolling down inclined planes. From this, he concluded that gravity affects all objects equally, regardless of their shape or composition. Only external forces, he argued, could change an object's speed or direction. These achievements represent only part of Galileo's legacy. His major works, including Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems, Two New Sciences, and Letters on Sunspots, transformed both astronomy and physics. Through his writings and experiments, Galileo helped lay the foundations of modern science. During Galileo's lifetime, the Church held immense authority and social power across Europe. As his ideas spread, they drew the attention of religious leaders. Throughout his life, Galileo faced constant scrutiny and opposition from some political and religious figures. By 1612, the Church had officially labeled the ideas of Copernicus as heretical. Despite this, Galileo published a book the following year openly supporting Copernican theory. His worldview, experiments, and writings increasingly alarmed figures within the Church. And what began as concern soon evolved into a serious threat to his safety and freedom. In 1616, Galileo was summoned to appear before church officials and Cardinal Bellarmine. During this meeting, the Holy Office made it clear how dangerous his position had become. He was instructed to stop teaching and defending ideas deemed heretical. Under intense pressure, Galileo signed formal statements agreeing to abandon certain views. Though he continued studying, reading, and writing in private, he deliberately kept a lower public profile. Even so, in 1632, he released Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems, Ptolemaic and Copernican. Once again, the book presented arguments in favor of the Copernican model, directly contradicting church doctrine. In 1633, Galileo was ordered to return to Rome. Despite being in poor health, he was compelled to make the journey. He endured a trial that stretched over 6 months. During repeated interrogations, Galileo attempted to defend himself, but his explanations failed to spare him from judgment. On July 23rd, his book was officially banned and condemned by church authorities. Galileo was sentenced to recite 7 penitential psalms each week for 3 years, and later placed under house arrest. Soon after, his punishment was reduced to lifelong house arrest. One factor behind the Church's hostility was Galileo's willingness to interpret biblical passages in ways that clashed with official teachings. The final years of Galileo's life were marked by deep hardship. In 1634, he was devastated by the death of his daughter Virginia, who died at the age of 34. Even in grief, he continued working and completed discourses and mathematical demonstrations relating to 2 new sciences, one of his most influential works. In his later years, he depended on the support of devoted students, including Vincenzo Viviani and Evangelista Torricelli, who cared for him until the end. Years of intense observation, especially of the sun, eventually cost Galileo his eyesight, a loss that caused him great suffering. He died on January 8, 1642, in Florence. Galileo's remains rest today in the Church of Santa Croce in that same city. After his death, close companions sought to honor him with a monument. The Church, led by Pope Urban VIII, blocked the effort, arguing that Galileo's influence was dangerous to society. Centuries later, in 1992, the Church formally acknowledged its mistake. Under Pope John Paul II, it admitted errors and actions taken against Galileo. Galileo Galilei was a visionary whose discoveries reshaped science itself. He believed the universe was written in the language of mathematics and held observation and experiment as the foundation of true scientific understanding. Galileo dared to speak when silence was safer. If you lived in his time, would you have done the same?